We've got a new pope and he's American, so you would assume the right would be super happy about that, right? But as you might have come across, nah, they're not actually exactly buying this pope because he doesn't appear to agree with them on everything. And that's the important thing. With a religious leader who I believe canonically is supposed to be like a divine conduit for the will of the creator of everything. The important thing is comparing your positions to his, and where there's disagreement, you browbeat him about it because you're more likely to be right. I think that's how Catholicism works. But anyway, we're gonna start with Laura Loomer because she's, I guess, one of the most influential people in our government right now. For some reason, she said, "This is the new pope. His name is Robert Prevost. He's the first American pope. He is you don't need to give all that prelude. Like if somebody's clicking your link, they already know. Anyway, he's anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, pro-open borders, and a total Marxist like Pope Francis. Catholics don't have anything good to look forward to, just another Marxist puppet in the Vatican." And look, again, I'm not a Catholic or whatever. I mean, I guess I was at one point. Before I became an atheist, I was half Roman Catholic. I don't think he's a Marxist puppet, but like if he was, I mean, he's definitely a puppet of God, right? Like that's the whole point. So is God a Marxist? Like if you believe that this is all part of God's divine plan, which these people do when it suits them and don't when it doesn't. Like we've got two Marxist popes in a row. Maybe that's what God wants. Maybe maybe if you were to have a Marxist puppet in the popedom and then you were to swing 180 in the opposite direction, maybe that would be a weird thing to do when your organization is supposedly following the divine dictates of the creator of the universe. Again, all of them talk about religion and religious leaders like they don't believe anything that they pretend to believe about it being, inspired by God and everything. And that at the end of the day is true, but man, they don't like this guy. They don't like that he apparently tweeted that people should pray for George Floyd, who was murdered live on camera, and Laura Loomer still considers him to have been the bad guy in that story. So that's weird. And then she just ends with, in all caps, Marxist Pope. This is not a person who should be determining the state, like the state of the NSA, the state of, the Surgeon General and all that. But unfortunately, she does. She is insane. She has no qualifications, but she does have a very strange relationship with the president. So I guess that's all it takes. Anyway, we're gonna get to more of these takes, including, let's see, Matt Wallace, who apparently had like the biggest breakdown over this. But Brett, we got a new pope. They're not a fan of him. I'm learning about him at the same time. What do you make of the new pope?
Oh, as alumnus of two Catholic schools, and I don't know if my preschool was, but oh my God, we're making America great again. Because in the era when America was at its best, it's segregation, and Catholics were hated by Protestants, and order is restored. That weird sectarian violence that has all the rego Christians mad at the fancy golden Christians. It makes me so happy that we finally made America back into that mold that it was so famous for back when they were like, we can't elect Kennedy. He's a slightly different version of Christian than we are. It
seems so strange, especially when it's just people. It's a political process. They chose a new leader. That's all it is.
I am furious, John. I am furious.
About which part?
That he's an Augustinian. Who gives a rip about Augustinians? Go with the two mains, bro. The new meta is Augustinians, and it's either usually it's Jesuits because they're the like angry school teacher ones who hit you. But why didn't anybody go with my high school? The Marianists, bro. The Mary boys. One's like, we're mama's boys. They had to go with really St. Augustus. I don't even know. That guy is August, I guess. And they couldn't even do a Francis. We had a Pope Francis, like to talk to animals. These Augustinians suck.
You're beyond my level of knowledge, unfortunately. I know I've heard of some of these groups. I don't know the differences. I assume many of the people freaking out over this pope also don't know those differences. By the way, I'm not gonna make the joke, but I'll just acknowledge the joke, which in hindsight should have been obvious. But somebody, I think it was on Blue Sky, I saw posted, ready for 1.4 billion people, including a lot of conservatives, to accept someone's chosen name that they want to be identified by, which is totally true. But anyway, let's get to a little bit more freak out, and then we'll talk a little bit, maybe more importantly, substantively about this Pope and what he might do and what he might say. Let's see, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. I don't think they voted for you to be the People's Pundit, says you can find many of these seeming to support what Sean M. Dav and others have claimed. They appointed a left-wing American Pope to counter rising national populist sentiment and the movements like MAGA who champion them. US Catholics actually side with Trump/Vance. I'd have to look at a poll on that. I don't know that that's necessarily the case, but so Rich, who's the they? It's like all of the other religious cardinals, like the entire leadership of the Vatican. Like, it's not they, like George Soros and Greta Thunberg got together and picked this guy. It's the organization picked him. And again, yes, and yeah, there are some insurgent right-wing movements. But have you listened to, like, I've heard I don't particularly care what happens with the Catholic Church, but I've heard breakdowns of there were a lot of Catholics who really wanted someone to continue in the stead of Pope Francis, as we'll get to on his policies. Like, maybe it's not countering anything, maybe it's giving Catholics more of what they've enjoyed, and which, by the way, the church has enjoyed, because Pope Francis gave them not uniformly good, years of news cycles and everything, but I think made the church seem a little bit less crazy, a little bit more inclusive, a little bit more interested in understanding the struggles of regular people and reflecting the struggles it sees. Like, all of this was actually good for the Catholic Church. Maybe they want some more of that. Maybe they don't want to bring in some sort of dogmatic rules first a-hole or whatever that's going to turn people off the entire thing again and likely accelerate the process of people leaving organized religion, which we've seen for decades at this point. But what do I know? I'm just an atheist. Anyway, this other dude freaked out too. So this dude, Matt Wallace, called him an anchor baby from Peru. Like, doesn't
make any sense.
What's wrong with people on Twitter? I see that and I think I really need to start spending more time on Twitter. I've missed out on so much over the last few years of spending time with my wife and daughter, consuming great art in the form of amazing TV shows, movies, and books. I should really waste more of it reading the thoughts of Matt Wallace. But anyway, any thoughts before we move on to the policies?
I love that they hate the Pope. It's such a weird thing to do, is to hate a Pope. It makes me so happy. And then to search through the Pope to hope that his teaching, that what he espouses is in line with your wildly non-Jesus-y approach to life. That's what they're mad about. They're mad that he's not super Jesus-y, or that he is Jesus-ier than them, because of course he is, he's the Pope. But the fact that like anyone would ever say, love thy neighbor as yourself, is crazy. Like, these guys are coming at it from a really bad place. One where they want to either use the Pope to stick it to libs or be mad at the Pope because he dared be compassionate like the Christ.
Yeah, I think like the main thing that this job is being continually reminded that no matter how obvious and seemingly inescapable a conclusion should be, people will escape it. Like, Jesus was very specific about what he wanted from people. And a lot of people were like, well, I like the idea that like I'm part of the chosen religion, that's true, but like all this stuff about like turning the other cheek, like that seems hard. So I'm not gonna do that. It's like, that's your dude. I don't think he's God. You think he's God. You think he's like the essence of the universe or whatever. You're not gonna listen to him? Okay, that makes sense.